Welcome to Our Voices. I have a special guest with me. He is the candidate for the city of Charleston for mayor. He is Mr. Martec Washington. Martec, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Um, Again, I want to say thank you for coming on, and we're going to discuss a few things about your reason for running for Charleston. But before I get into my questions, Martec, please tell the viewers something about Martec Washington.
Um, well, I'm Martec. I'm 33, and all I know how to do apparently is work and help others.
Now, there has to be more
That's
about
about,
Martec.
I mean, as of right now, that's about all I do because our city is hurting so bad, and I'm just out here constantly trying to make sure that my community and my people are better. I don't even dance as often as I'd like because I'm a hip hop dance instructor. I'm just more focused on making sure our kids have a future.
All right, ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Martec, you are running for mayor of Charleston. Please tell me, what are some of the glaring needs that you see in Charleston? What are some needs that you can point out?
One major issue that most people have is streetlights. We have problems with homelessness. We have problems with crime, even though they just said that crime is at an all-time low. It's probably because people are scared to call 911, which is an issue. But one of our biggest issues is leadership. We don't have someone who is leading us to a better tomorrow for Charleston. And that's really what's made me put my name in the race for mayors because I guess I'm a natural born leader because if I see there's a need, I just fix it. I get what needs to be done. And that's just the biggest issue that I see that Charleston faces is leadership. You know, somebody to make sure that our streetlights are on, someone to make sure that our trash gets picked up, someone to make sure that our schools and all of our infrastructure is safe and working properly. So that's that.
Okay. Martec, one of the issues that folks have been talking about uh, is the drug issue. And one thing in particular is a needle exchange. I know that there's a group out there that is uh, they're involved with as far as helping with the needle exchange and trying to curb some of the interaction with needles on the ground. What do you say about that? What do you think about the needle exchange, and do you feel that there could be a better method of handling that to make it a safer city in Charleston?
um, yes. Um, I'm here for some sort of needle exchange program, but it has to be ran properly. And we also have to provide places for people to put the needles anyway. My brother's used to be a trash man for the city. The most needles he saw was diabetic needles, not needles that people needed for drugs. So I understand why there's a need for a needle exchange program because it's cutting back on our HIV, it's cutting back on spreading diseases and stuff like that. But what we don't say is most people who are on drugs like that are our doctors or our lawyers or some of our representatives. And what should be happening is our public safety commission and our public safety budget should be working together hand in hand with different resources and our community because we're going to need everyday regular people's input on what they want to see in their community, and that's not what's happening. What's happening is people are pushing forward. Only thing that needs to be changed is needle exchange, but it's really called harm reduction. Harm reduction entails a whole lot more things than just needles. We have to figure out why people are going to drugs in the first place. You know, we got to actually take our time and figure out what's going on. We can't just be oversaturating the market with needles, not holding people accountable or responsible for the things that's going on. So I'm here for a needle exchange program, but it has to be ran properly, and it has to be in places that want it. The needle exchange program that we had here was just on the west side. but there was two or three black people going to it, but it was in a predominant area of color. That doesn't work out, you know? So we just got to make sure if we are going to have things such as a needle exchange program and different programs like that, that we focus and figure out the way to make them work for us, not just, oh, there's a need, so here, let's throw out needles. That's not going to work.
Martise, one glaring issue on the West Side, you look at crime, and I think personally, I believe that the West Side does get a bad rep when it comes to that. Some folks will say, you know what, it's the truth. It happens on the West Side. How do you solve the issue of crime on the West Side, or alleged crime on the West Side?
Well, one, you make it uncomfortable for criminals. People on the West Side stop holding the West Side in such great esteem. I remember when I was growing up on the West Side, if we saw something wrong, we would instantly either investigate it or tell somebody or call somebody. Because I don't know, Tom, who's coming down the street. Parents used to be sitting outside watching the whole community worth of kids. We don't do that. So some of the fix is within us. We got to make sure that we're patrolling and taking care of our communities and speaking out when we see things that is happening. But what also needs to happen with some of this crime and some of this mess that's going on is we need to issue what one of my plans is to do a city-run ring program. So that way, if you know something's come up missing on your porch, the city's already giving you a ring. So we can maybe get a snapshot of the person that's doing something and we can catch that person. And I just think that would work a lot more. Plus community policing. I think those two things go hand in hand. And then, adding value to the West Side. If we're going to hold it in high esteem, we need our police department to show up too when we call. We need them to fix the things that are going on in the community. We have to trust them. People don't want to call 911 to even report stuff if they'll complain about it. If you see somebody out here shooting, call. So just working that way, I believe, would help cut back on a lot of the crime on the West Side.
Martise, how is it, in your opinion, how is the job situation looking in Charleston?
What job situation?
Okay.
There's lots of jobs. There's people are saying they're hiring, but then you don't want to pay. So there's jobs, but there's not enough jobs that are going to pay you to be able to support your family.
Okay. So if elected mayor, are you looking into bringing in more jobs, bringing more business here to Charleston?
Yes, I plan to promote Charleston like the city that we see it should be. The city on the top of the hill. That's what we need to push to make sure people understand that Charleston is a major city. We're the capital city of the state. So I don't understand why a capital city of the state doesn't have like an Old Navy. That's 50 jobs right there. I mean, as mayor, I want to pay the workers $15 an hour minimum wage. And I also want to make some subsidies available for small businesses so that way people can get a living wage here. But as mayor, yes, I'm going to be pushing for large, small, all types of corporations to be coming to Charleston because that's what we need.
Now, are you in favor of giving big business tax breaks for coming here?
I don't mind giving anybody a break as long as it's going to equate to something greater. To certain extents. If it's something that the people of Charleston want, I'm going to go above and beyond to bring it here. But just because I want a Popeyes doesn't mean I'm not going to make Popeyes pay the city. They may pay it at a lower rate, so that way they're profitable for the first year or so. But we're not going to be out here just slicing taxes so you can just open up in Charleston. Because you have to have some type of investment and work that you're going to show us that you're putting in for us to give you that tax break. If they're not willing to, make it work for us, like if you come in here with asking for a tax break, okay, my reply is going to be, so pay everybody a living wage. If that's a big corporation, that's a big corporation. Obviously, it's going to work different ways. But I mean, if those are the things that are needed to make sure that the people of Charleston have what they need, then yes.
One of the issue people have been talking about when it comes to, I want to say maybe tourism or just entertainment. A lot of folks say that when it comes to that, it's real dead at night here. Places close up early. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. We don't have enough events. Like I was talking the other day, and I said that we need to have a food truck convention that lasts a week. Have food trucks from all across the country come to Charleston, West Virginia for a food truck festival, or a big convention of food trucks where we have vendors from everywhere. Things like that don't happen in our city. People be like, "Well, we have Food Truck Friday," and that's enough to you? Yes, I understand we have Food Truck Friday, but there needs to be more than just Food Truck Friday. Then we need to have things and events like hair shows, things like that. We need to start planning those things as a city, so that way the people have more things to do. But yes, it's dead at night. We need a 24-hour restaurant downtown, especially something. We have 2 hospitals, 3 actually, St. Francis, I forgot about that. 3 hospitals. Okay, people go to the ER. You want to go get something to eat, you can. I mean, we're the capital city. We should be doing more towards entertainment and events and festivals. I just don't think that we have enough to do. So I understand what people say, and I plan on having all types of events. We're going to see what works. Like I want to have a drag race competition down the boulevard. Let's do what works. We know the doo-wop run does good, so let's add on to that. But it's like people get so stuck in their ways that they're just like, oh, well, they have this, they have that. Well, if they're asking for more, give them more.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on this right here. I talked to some folks, and they have mentioned something about some videos on social media about the police, and you have chimed in on it. Something in respect of police brutality, where the police were allegedly using excessive force, and they're being unreasonable. And you've been pretty outspoken about that. If elected mayor, you're going to have to work with the police. How do you feel about that?
My grandpa was a cop. My uncle was a police officer. And one thing I know about both of them was I held them accountable. Like they would hold me accountable. As mayor, I'm not here to sugarcoat for the police force. I'm here to sugarcoat for the people of Charleston. And if the police force under a Washington administration is doing something wrong, they will be held accountable. Because if they're not held accountable, then how's the community going to feel with the police? And I work with the police department now. Me and Tyke are cool. I just feel like they try to pull the wool over everyone and make things look better than they are. And I'm not here for that. You have to be held accountable. If you're getting these people's tax money and you're supposed to be serving and protecting, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be out here attacking somebody as soon as you get out of a police car. I mean, just always didn't have a interpreter during one situation. I'm always at city council saying, give the police everything that they need. They need an interpreter. They still don't have one. Pay them a living wage. I don't mind working with the police department. I see them as an asset to this community. But the second they become a liability, you have to put them on Front Street and make them clean up their act. And that's what I plan on doing as mayor. If we're wrong, we're wrong.
Martec, when it comes to police reform, people want to associate the phrase defund the police. How do you feel about that?
I don't really feel like it's a defund the police situation.
I feel like it's a restructure of the police, make the police department work for our city. Like I said, the public safety budget is huge. It's half of the city's money, and like 50 million out of the 100 million we get. Why aren't they doing more? Okay, if we know these kids are going out here getting guns, that's a part of public safety because they're in the public's view. How many children have innocently been shot? Public, right? So that means that we need to work on PTSD. Okay, why wouldn't that come out of the public safety budget? You know, just like I said, harm reduction. That's a part. Okay, needles are being on the street. Isn't that the public? So I don't think it's so much as defund the police as make the police work and do what they're supposed to do.
Okay. What about, do you want the police to be more interactive with the community, with the kids, to make them feel safe? Because again, there have been a wave of incidents where unarmed Black men have been shot and killed by the police. And we know that there was an incident a few years ago on the West Side where a woman was beaten by a cop. She was face down on the ground.
I mean, the whole Frida Gilmore situation was absurd. That's why the police chief is no longer there. That's all I can say. I went to city council and I asked him to resign himself. I said he wasn't the man for the job at the time. He couldn't lead our city out of it. They had a whole meeting for the community, and all they could do is point the blame this way and this way and this way. Nobody took accountability for what they did to Frida. I just think that's absurd, and that law needs to change as well as other laws in the police department.
Martise, how do you feel about city council, and is city council willing to work with you if you are elected mayor?
I mean, city council technically has more power than the mayor in the city. They can approve the laws and all the different things that go on in the city. So without city council, the mayor is absolutely nothing. I'm cool with most city council members, but like I said, I plan on holding them accountable because I will be elected by the people who elected them and people all across the city. I want our city council members to actually represent their communities. So what I propose is that once every quarter, all city council members have a town hall. So that way the community has some type of way in the forum to just talk to their person who can then come advocate at city hall for it or at city council meetings for it. So, I mean, I'm cool with city council. I plan on working with everyone. I don't have a negative insert there to where I'm worried about city council affecting my mayorship. But I'm here for city council, but I also plan on holding them accountable. Like if they don't want to be held accountable, don't run for city council in Charleston.
Martise, some folks say that when it comes to the police and a person out on the street, we look at the gentleman who got shot on the West Side. Are you in favor of putting someone who is a mental health expert on the scene to diffuse the situation, or would you rather have the police handle the situation?
So what I want to do is add a crisis unit. So that way there is a mental health person right then and there. If you need somebody who's trained in all types of situations and de-escalations, that's what we need. Again, like I said, our police department and our public safety budget should be going way further than it is. So I'm definitely in favor of having a person there other than the police to deal with situations like that can walk down the tension, you know, and really truly de-escalate the situation. Because sometimes, and I say this as a Black man, seeing someone with a badge, you are already going to have a different heightened sense of what's going on. It's because the way that we've been treated, it's because the way we watch people get treated, and it's because of the lack of respect that we get as human beings, solely because of the color of our skin. And a crisis or a cares or a mental health therapist will be able to de-escalate and fix that problem. That's where officers are going to be like, well, it's one of two options. Either you go on about your day or this, that, and the third, or I arrest you or I shoot you or whatever. A crisis or a cares person can be like, hey, well, let's talk. Let me talk to you and prevent that from happening again. So I'm totally here for other people than the police showing up. But I hope they work in tandem. Well, they should work in tandem. Under a Washington administration, they'll work in tandem. If you have a domestic situation call, a crisis agent is coming, and then a crisis agent is going to check up in 48 hours to make sure that you're doing better or to assess the needs that you need so that way you can get resources so that you're not having a mental breakdown with the police.
I have a couple more questions and I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
All right. Now, again, your heart is there, and I can tell you, you're fired up. You're full of spunk. Some say that you maintain your strength, work on your weakness. Now, from a city landscape perspective, Martese, it's probably safe to say maybe the weak part will be on the west side. And the strength would be South Hills. How would you treat the residents of South Hills?
I'm going to treat them like I'm going to treat every single part of this community. If one part of our community is hurting, the rest of them are hurting. We shouldn't have I understand that there's a west side, of East End, South Hills, North Charleston. I get all of that. But we should all be working in tandem to make sure that each and every one of our communities have what they need. South Hills, they are in desperate need of lights. They are in desperate need of a community center for all of those kids that are up there. Yeah, you have these nice state-of-the-art schools and you have parents who can provide all of that stuff. But what about the kids that don't have that? We have 2 low-income housing authorities situations up there. Like, I would treat South Hills with respect, just like I would treat the West Side with respect. I'm going to focus on their needs and some of their wants. And like I said, they need lighting, they need sidewalks, and they need a recreational center for sure.
All right. My last question. And I think you may explain before, but I want you to explain again. Why is Martese running for mayor?
I'm running for mayor because I live in Charleston, West Virginia, the capital city of the state of West Virginia. And I've witnessed for 33 years my city get torn apart, brought down, and not prosper or be anything that people want. And so I went to my city council, I went to my mayor, I went to people in the community, and I've tried to make changes to better my city for everyone. I couldn't do it because I don't have an office of power behind me. And so I looked at the best option for me to change the city and the trajectory so that way we don't have friends and family leaving here. And the best way was to become the chief executive of Charleston. And so when I realized that I could fix our sewer issues, working with the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers to fix some of our flooding issues that have been happening time after time. When I figured out that I didn't just have to call the governor's office as a regular citizen to get vaccines, I could have done it as a mayor and suggested programs. When I figured out the office that was best for me to help my city, I instantly jumped in head first because I want what's best for the place that I live because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to be forced to move. So what truly made me run for office was loving my city and caring for the place that I've grown up, the only place that I know. So that's what made me want to run for mayor was just my love for Charleston. I mean, this isn't easy. People are going to judge my life. They're going to judge me. I mean, it's already hard enough being black. And I'm a black male, and I'm young, and I'm still here, and I'm still making it, and I'm leaving a legacy whether I win, lose, or draw. I think that's what really forced me to actually sign the paperwork, save up money, and run for mayor.
All right, Martese. Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. I thank you for coming on Our Voices. You take care. You be safe, okay?
Yes, sir. You have a great evening.
Hey, don't go anywhere.